So humanity is selfish, and it's precisely because of this selfishness that the world won't end in one massive explosion. It will end in small tragedies that pile up that will irreversibly change the ability for humanity to develop and technologically advance. Opening government is right about one thing. We have incredibly bad and selfish people leading our world. But it is precisely because they are bad and selfish that they will almost never pull the trigger, insofar as they have no particular incentive to lose the power, the prestige, and the position that they currently have. That is the case that Joseph puts forth. That is the case that DPM has sufficiently ignored. A lot of responses towards government bench. 1. PM lacks basic historical background because history suggests that states are not stupid and they won't just buy and use nuclear wars willy-nilly. In fact, this has happened once and literally never again. The exclusive burden that OG missed to prove is how this is the tipping point towards human extinction. At most, PM asserts that it happens, it will be bad for human beings. Yeah, man, I believe you. You know what else is probably bad? Another pandemic. An entire tsunami taking out an entire city. This debate is not about which is worse, but it's a debate about which is more likely. I hope you understand that all of PM's and DPM's analysis and impacts are uncomparative at the point in which they don't spend a really long and crucial amount of time proving the prerequisite analysis to believe that nuclear fallout is a likely cause for humanity's worst case scenario. 2. Let's be charitable and assume that they do prove it. PM explains that the main causes to why nuclear war will happen is because of inherent human division, and now a lot more countries have nukes, they'll use it a lot more. Human division is not something exclusive right now. In fact, we aren't even in the worst of it. The closest we've gotten to nuclear annihilation was in the 60s when Russia thought America was going to bomb one of their cities when it was just a technological malfunction. The good thing is, as technology has progressed, it has further justified countries making sure diplomacy wins. So it's literally an assertion when DPM says America is already fighting, when if you literally open up any news article, America was the one that de-escalated the situation in the Middle East. Why do you think Trump did that? Isn't he a madman? Well, as it turns out, even in the worst people, if the two choices are they can talk about it or they literally end the entire world, you probably are going to talk about it. Third, the motion does not care about whether or not things happen slow or fast. It only cares about what's effective. So DPM inherently concedes that a lot of the externalities after nuclear warfare, once it happens, will probably be the likely impetus to kill a lot more human beings. What we say on opening opposition is that you don't even need nuclear war for people to be more susceptible to disease. They will be more susceptible to weather phenomena. Extension. Let's run a comparative scenario. Let's assume nuclear war happens. Let's assume complete global annihilation by existential threats happen. Why is the latter the tipping point towards human extinction? Why is the former not so much? The first reason this is true. Let's talk about nuclear warfare and what it actually looks like. Nuclear warfare actually looks like these nukes targeting all of the majority of first world countries. So let's assume Canada, US, Russia, and literally half of Europe is just gone. Gov says it's likely that all their allies are likely to support these people. We say, why? No, it's not. I call bullshit for two reasons. The first reason is the moment a bomb drops, the person who drops the bomb is now seen as the aggressor. They will literally be the one that the entire world condemns due to common sense on not wanting to ally yourself with the biggest bad guy on the entire international community. All of those allies or all of those countries that have allied with you will probably find a way to get out of it, to not get involved with that particular situation. The second reason is that these countries literally have no capacity to help. So even if they have an incentive to stay allied to China if they bomb America, what's a country like Mongolia or another one of China's allies going to do? Newsflash, not a lot. They're probably not going to want to get involved, especially when there's nukes at stake. What does this mean? What this means is that the extent of harms that nukes can be are massive, but they do not apply to the entire world. That is to say, it's probably true that all of Africa, all of South America, most of Southeast Asia will be spared. So the reasonable impact that OG just flat out exaggerates is that yes, there will be a massive amount of land that will be uninhabitable, but it won't be the end. You lose the the North American continent, but humanity will continue to live on. You will probably see a rise in South America as the next continental superpower. Note, this is important because I am explaining to you that at best, OG does not prove the burden of human extinction. They cannot win weighing the inherentness of their claims. Why then is all of existential threats that Joseph talks about provide the necessary impetus for the catalyst? Actually, before that, I'll take a POI if you guys have one. OGCG. Okay, cool. So why then? Why is our side more likely to prove human extinction? 1. Human beings abuse the environment. This particular abuse comes at the consequence of severe capitalism. Severe capitalism leads to an abuse in taking massive natural resources. This significantly worsens climate change. Impact. Climate change makes severe weather phenomena a lot more likely to happen. So compared to their side, where only certain countries get involved, the climate is not discriminatory. They don't care about whether or not your country is rich or poor. They don't care about where your country is. You're likely to experience all of the negative effects that happen as a consequence of these severe weather phenomena. The first and the second reason this is true is on the inherentness of more disease and the severity that happens as a consequence of this particular things happening. That is to say, as a consequence of us directly being involved in making sure that, the world sucks, all of the massive pandemics and all of the massive health crises that we have experienced will progressively get worse at the point in which this continues to happen or this continues to proliferate. On our side of the house, all of those external things that OG tries to co-op happen much faster and much more sustained, given that you don't necessarily need the impetus of a nuclear war to commit all of these things. So, what happens is, if we're basing this motion based on the metricness of likelihood and the possibility of human extinction, all of the externalities that Joseph has posited as a consequence of human greed and human selfishness will likely apply when it needs all of these things to happen. So, on our side, you don't need a nuclear war because even if you do have it, it's not like it's going to end the world. All of what we've done is currently enough to make sure that humanity does not survive. For all of those reasons, very, very proud to oppose.
Thank you for